The Southeastern Pennsylvania Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America has asked for congregations to produce multimedia presentations to demonstrate their ministries. We are Redeemer Lutheran of East Falls in the northwest region of Philadelphia. We have been excluded by questionable authority from participation in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Nevertheless, our ministry continues, despite long-standing neglect from church leadership. The resources of our neighborhood churches have been repeatedly scavenged to patch the Synod's recurring debt. During its 25-year history, SEPA has taken a conservative estimate of $3 million from our region. SEPA used the same strategy over and over. It's called waiting for churches to die. It's the opposite of mission. The Synod provides inadequate professional leadership. Over time, this drains a congregation's resources and wears down the lay volunteers until they vote to close. When it was clear Redeemer would not follow this tried and true plan, SEPA Synod forced its will on us. Synod's focus has always been property and cash assets, not mission. SEPA ignores its own rules in hopes that the rules are not widely known and that few people will be inclined to raise questions. Redeemer raised questions. When serious issues ended up in court, the Synod claimed immunity from the law under separation of church and state. It then used every nuance of the law against its lay members. Redeemer, now evicted from the land we purchased and the buildings we built, works to maintain an active ministry. We intend to revive ministry in our neighborhoods, where ministry opportunity abounds. Our communities are not ghost towns, nor are they impoverished wastelands. The median population is young. The education level is fairly high. Why does SEPA see no promise in our ministries? Our congregations are attractive targets because they are older and are presumed to be debt-free. Nice neighborhoods make for high property value. It's easier to claim our assets than to find answers to the modern challenges of urban life. And they need our money. SEPA, only 25 years old, fell into the perilous habit of deficit spending, significant six-figure deficit spending. Leap of faith spending is acceptable only when there's a plan to create revenue in the foreseeable future. Almost every SEPA congregation is in moderate to serious decline. Few churches have adequate resources to support the Synod and national church. They may be quite able to provide ministry in their neighborhoods. Unfortunately, that's not the measure for viability. The only plan for new revenue to fund the regional body is to force congregations into closure and claim their assets, a sort of ecclesiastic cannibalism. Even if no Lutherans resist, eventually the supply of churches will run out. It's already happening near us. A review of SEPA history in northwest Philadelphia is revealing. Philadelphia's northwest spans about 4 miles long and about 3 miles wide. The deep and beautiful Wissahickon Gorge divides it in two. The forests of Fairmount Park line a rippling urban trout stream. Our focus is on the western side of the Wissahickon Gorge. Along the Schuylkill River is the old factory neighborhood of Manayunk. Today, Manayunk's Main Street is a trendy gathering spot for students and young professionals. Population, about 15,000. A steep ridge rises from the banks of the Schuylkill River. At the top of the hill is Philadelphia's largest geographic neighborhood, Roxborough. The small neighborhood of Wissahickon sits at the end of the gorge. The combined population of these two neighborhoods is about 40,000. East Falls is situated along the Schuylkill River at the mouth of the Wissahickon. It is home to about 12,000 people. Altogether, these four neighborhoods have a population of 67,000, the size of a medium-sized city. East Falls is the most affluent of the four neighborhoods. It is home to 3 universities. East Falls was once the national headquarters of the Lutheran Church in America. Redeemer has served this community since 1891. This combined region had 4 Lutheran churches when the ELCA was formed, 3 in Roxborough, 1 in East Falls, none in Wissahickon or Manayunk. There are also no Lutheran churches in the neighborhoods directly across the river. That's a pretty wide, empty swath. Grace had a prime location along the main business corridor, Ridge Avenue. When its caretaker minister retired, Grace was discouraged and voted to close. Bethany, which has a German language heritage, is just a few blocks away, tucked on a back street in a neighborhood crowded with row homes. Bethany has a sanctuary that seats 600. They have 52 members and an average attendance of 27, smaller than Redeemer. Ministry is very possible here, but its aging membership is not getting the help they need. Our guess is when the current pastor retires, they will get no support in reviving their ministry. Epiphany was in Upper Roxborough, on a neighborhood street with more of a suburban feel. They had property, they had income from a popular day school, they had a parking lot. SEPA approved and assigned them a mission developer pastor. They also had termites. They were forced to abandon their building. In 1997, SEPA Synod encouraged these three congregations to merge. But what about Redeemer and East Falls? At the same time SEPA was in conversation with the three churches of Roxborough, Bishop Almquist was trying to close Redeemer. It was explained, only after the Synod seized our money, that our assets would fund a waterfront church for the merged churches of Roxborough. East Falls was not part of this dialogue. We were just expected to fund it. Synod took $90,000 from our bank account without our permission or knowledge. The Roxborough churches never merged. Grace's parsonage and sanctuary were sold to the benefit of Synod, probably several $100,000. Epiphany, without a building, attempted to merge with Redeemer. We shared our building with them for nearly 2 years while they worked to sell their property. The property was no sooner sold than they met privately with SEPA and announced they were closing. Benefit to SEPA? About $600,000. Of the Roxborough churches, only Bethany survives. Eventually, SEPA returned most of the money they seized from Redeemer, but lasting damage was done to our relationship with the ELCA. SEPA ignored Redeemer from that point on. They assumed we would die a natural death within 10 years. Instead, Redeemer reached out to the changing East Falls community and grew. In 2005, SEPA's treasurer reported that the Synod was within $75,000 of depleting every available resource. Redeemer had more money than SEPA. A few months later, a newly elected bishop turned her attention once again to East Falls. Bishop Burkett decided to ignore the ample evidence of Redeemer's growth. White Redeemer must be allowed to die, she said. Black Redeemer, the majority of our new members, could be put anywhere. SEPA presented a $275,000 deficit budget to its 2009 Synod Assembly. They gave it rubber stamp approval. How was such a large deficit to be filled when most congregations were in decline? The deficit would be filled, it was explained, with contributions to the Mission Fund. It was not explained that the Mission Fund is the repository for the assets of closed churches. The same assembly that approved the huge deficit budget voted against their own rules to take Redeemer's property. Congregations are slow in connecting the dots. When a synod lives beyond its means, it endangers mission. Redeemer never voted to close, which is required under Lutheran polity. We continue our ministry without our property. When Epiphany abandoned its covenant with Redeemer, the congregation spent 6 months researching and drafting a blueprint for our future. We had already begun to implement the plan with significant early success. 49 new members joined in 1 year. We adjusted the plan to our new circumstances. Most congregations fund their ministries with local contributions and reach out after their own needs are met. We found new entrepreneurial ways to fund ministry while doing ministry. First, we care for our members. SEPA Synod has shown no regard and considerable disdain for the people they expelled. Second, we remain active in the East Falls community, reminding our neighbors that we are not closed, we are locked out. Third, we visit the churches that so eagerly voted to take our property. They have remained silent as SEPA exercised powers that are not included in their ruling documents. Our 60 visits have given us unique insight into the status of the ELCA. We see an infrastructure that is slowly failing. Both large and small churches are following the same dead-end mission plan. Support property and salaried clergy first. Provide mission second. Ignore the skills of laity. This mission model is expensive and ineffective. It ignores both the current economic realities and the power shift that will define the 21st century. A website was always part of our mission plan. Now we made a blog the hub of all our activity. We opened it under a new corporate entity. 2x2virtualchurch.com launched in February 2011. In just 2 years, 2x2 has grown to make Redeemer the Lutheran congregation within SEPA's territory with the broadest reach. We closed March with 4,500 unique visitors. 200 subscribers read our site daily. The largest landed congregation in SEPA reaches fewer than 3,000 people per month, many of them repeats. Shunned at home, our community quickly became the world. We began corresponding with mission pastors in several countries. We will continue to offer free resources, but we will also create resources that we can offer at a very low cost. This will help fund our ministry while maintaining mission. The economics of scale will kick in. That opens the door for real opportunity in East Falls. Redeemer is poised to be more than viable. The economic model we are building could benefit our entire region. It's this simple, Lutherans. There is far more economic potential in an open church than in a closed church. There is also far more mission potential when locks are not used as mission tools. Under Lutheran polity, SEPA should return the land they seized under false pretenses. Here's what could be happening in East Falls if the interdependent bodies of the ELCA actually worked together. Income from our Christian day school could be providing $100,000 for mission each year. This is not unrealistic. We have been working with a pastor who has overseen the administration of several Lutheran day schools. Income from our internet ministry is unlimited. These income-earning ministries will fund important ministries that will never be self-sustaining. We've laid the groundwork for all this to happen while SEPA chased our members from one courtroom to another for the last 5 years. Sadly, SEPA prefers a closed church under their control to an open church that discerns its own mission opportunities using its own resources, the Lutheran way. SEPA's actions in East Falls were never about ministry. They were about funding SEPA's deficit. SEPA congregations, in their own interests, should be objecting. Without the congregations checking the power of their government, SEPA Synod will continue to live beyond its means. When one congregational windfall runs out, SEPA will look for another. Someone, somewhere, will pay. For the last 20 years, it's been the Lutherans of Northwest Philadelphia. We refuse to be just another closed church statistic. God is doing something new in East Falls. Can you not see?